It is so sad that so many studios out there think it is acceptable to launch a game in a buggy and broken state, and now it looks like they're starting to get a taste of their own medicine, as sales reports suggest that Borderlands 4 sold way slower than 3. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I think this game had so many terrible things going for it. First of all, you had Randy Pitchford making extremely controversial statements, and then the technical difficulties on top of that, plus the feedback and really, what boiled down to backlash surrounding the story direction they went in just was a recipe for disaster. Months ago, Randy Pitchford had said, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to spend $80 on this game, which was terrible and completely out of touch given the economic state of the world. But you also have to pair that with his statements at launch, where he was basically acting like tech support on social media and then saying, stop being poor. He said you needed to get a better computer and you could only expect their game to do so much on a bad build, which is insane. And then he went into, hey, why don't you make a game yourself? Code your own engine and show us how it's done, please. We will be your customers when you pull it off. The people doing it now were clearly dumb and don't know what they're doing, and all the support and recommendations in code and architecture from the world's greatest hardware companies and tech companies working with the world's greatest real-time graphics engine coders don't know what you seem to know. Slash sarcasm, just not acting like a professional CEO at all whatsoever. But now, with the issues at launch that the game faced, plus with his comments, and also the backlash surrounding the story direction, it looks like Borderlands 4 is off to a very bad start because it has sold 2.5 million copies, but this is less than half of Borderlands 3's launch sales. According to the latest newsletter written by Reese Elliott of Alina, Borderlands 4 has so far managed to sell 2 million copies, and we know that the number was updated to 2.5. They further broke down the numbers for them, revealing that half of those sales have been on Steam, where the game has been drawing high concurrent player counts. If these numbers are accurate, they're a bit soft. Borderlands 3 managed to sell 5 million copies in its first 5 days, as confirmed by publisher Gearbox at the time. That means Borderlands 4 has achieved less than half of those sales in roughly the same amount of time. It's worth remembering that BL4 launched at 70 versus BL3, which launched at 60, and I do think that this is also a problem. There are so many gamers out there who will not buy at launch because it is too expensive, and I really never recommend buying a game at release unless it is like half the price, unless it's like a Silksong or even an Expedition 33, where it's such a high level of quality and it also isn't a $70 or $80 game. But I think that it's usually smarter to just wait for a game to go on sale because that happens really quickly. It's not like it takes 2 or 3 years. Most games go on sale 3 to 4 months after launch. It says it isn't helping that Borderlands 4 has faced a rough launch. PC players especially have not been happy with the technical performance, citing poor optimization as a major problem, and when it released, it had launched to mostly negative reviews over this. Borderlands 4 had finally arrived, but for some, the big occasion hadn't quite gone to plan. Before launch, there were a lot of concerns regarding its potential performance, especially on PC. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford claimed it would be unplayable on anything below minimum specs, and a promo video of Conan O'Brien's Clueless Gamer series that featured the game crashing didn't do much to alleviate fears. So, just a few hours after release, it had already managed to hit mostly negative reviews on Steam, with the vast majority of them complaining about performance issues, and it has gone up quite a bit since, but we're still not talking about it being overwhelmingly positive or anything like that. It says, though, it's even worse the further you dive into the reviews, as a lot of the positive ones also mention that there are problems with optimization, input lag, and stuttering, which are at their worst when there are a lot of enemies on screen. From these reviews, it sounds as though Borderlands 4 is in a pretty rough shape for anyone that doesn't have a supercomputer to hand, and I know I have a pretty good computer. It's really new. It's a 9950X 3D, 96 gigs of RAM, 5080, and even I had problems. It says, though, you also have a couple of reviews once again blaming unrealistic Unreal Engine 5 for the issues, and while Epic says it's not the engine's fault but the developers using it, you can't blame fans for thinking it's the problem. Either way, developers should not be releasing games in the state. Studios should not be releasing products half-assed like this. They should be taking the extra time to deliver a high-quality experience, because I actually think that the Borderlands 4 combat is pretty fun, and I like quite a bit of the level design, and I don't think that it is the worst game I've ever played, but with the technical difficulties, it just severely damaged my image of this game, and a lot of other people agree, and honestly, I'm glad to see that this game isn't selling as well as they expected, with the way that Randy Pitchford has acted, with the way that they thought they could get away with launching a game buggy and broken like this. And it's just sad to see so many games that, yes, people were excited for release like this. It is unacceptable, and I really can't think of any other industries that release products that are so far from their goal. Obviously, I get not everything is going to release 100% perfect. I can deal with a few small bugs and glitches here and there, as long as they're not game breaking and they don't corrupt save files and stuff like that, and I don't get stuck up, but behind a wall or something, or under the map, and I can't fix it. But this is just horrific for so many reasons, and that's why so many people are upset. Slower than 3, they were giving that shit away like candy post-launch because it wasn't doing well. Wow. Usually games perform in the launch window based on how good the previous one was. BL3 did well because it was coming off widely acclaimed games. BL4 is following up a misstep, which also is, yeah, a very good point. It's because 3 was the gayest, wokest slop I've ever played in my life. Yeah, I definitely don't agree there. I think it was pretty bad, but I still think Kill the Justice League and Dustborn and Concord were way worse. The franchise went from gunning down psycho midgets to literally the most insufferable writing I've ever encountered. Guess they won't get to 100 million. LOL. I think it's because 3 was on the heels of 2, and 2 was a cult classic, whereas 3 had good gameplay, but the annoying and cringe IRL streamer villains really ruined it for a lot of people. Borderlands 3 was a less than mid offering from a dev that was already on shaky ground in the wake of DEI corruption in media. They have now thoroughly lost the good graces of their former fans by showing no intent to change their ways, and I also think another small piece of this puzzle is the Borderlands movie that had come out a couple of, well, I guess really it was a year ago now, almost. I almost said a couple months ago. That's a long ways away. But when the Borderlands movie came out, I think they were really hoping to bring new fans to the franchise. But really, if I hadn't known what Borderlands was, I would have said, wow, this franchise fucking sucks and I'm never going to buy one of these games in my life. So it's just a series of unfortunate events. And I can't say that I feel all that bad for Gearbox and Randy Pitchford and the team behind this game. Maybe they should learn to launch their games in a really good, solid state and actually hire better writers and shut their CEO up, and maybe their next game can do a little bit better if they even make one. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.